Good day, everyone. I hope your day went well. Um, Continuing from the last class. In the last class, if you recall, we used the Chrome browser to launch our code. But starting from now, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code to run our code. And I started by opening a folder named JS class, which is JavaScript class. Then I have two folders in it, which is our index.html and our app.js, which is our JSON file. Now I linked the JSON file to our HTML file using the script tag with the source attribute and the location to the JavaScript file. So now let's continue from the last class. So anytime I type a code here, all I have to do is to go to my browser. All I have to do is go to my browser and check my console and the code will show here. So in the last class we talked about variables. Now what are variables? Variables are containers for storing data values, as you can read there. Variables are storage houses they are storage spaces for your data. If you have something you want to store somewhere, let's say one, you want to store it somewhere. Once you say okay, x equals 1, your x becomes your variable and your system automatically creates a storage house for that x and keeps it within its memory, so that anytime you refer back to that x, it gives you the value that is contained inside x. Now in working with variables, there are two ways you can actually work with variables. You can either start by declaring your variable first before assigning a value into it, or you can declare and assign at the same time. Now, in this case here, the variable was declared and assigned at the same time. You have your var. In order to declare a variable, you need your var, then the name of your variable, then you assign it a value with equal to sign. So this was assigned the value of 5, x was assigned the value of 5, and y was assigned the value of 6. Then z was now assigned the value of x plus y, which is 5 plus 6, that is 11. So in case you might not get that, let's run it. Let's say var x equals var y equals 2, then var z equals, I'm so sorry about this, then var z equals x plus y. Now if I log z, it is going to give me 2 plus 1, which is 3. Let's check that out in our terminal. Checking that out in our terminal, we have 3. Why? Because it has added the values of x and y and stored the corresponding value gotten from the addition of the two into z. So when you log z to your console, it gives you the sum of the two values. So moving on, we can store multiple data types in a variable. Okay, this is just a recap. So let me just summarize. So we can store multiple data types in a variable. We have the string, we have numbers, strings, arrays, objects. You can store all those in a variable. And I'm not going to dwell too much on that because I believe we've done that in the last class. So now I'm just going to move on. This is an example of storing a string in a variable. When you are storing a string in a variable, you have to use the double quotes or the single quotes. But in most cases, I would advise you use the double quotes because you might want to write words that may have like an apostrophe. Let's say a word like there is, but you're writing there's like THERE apostrophe S. Now using that apostrophe in that case, let me show you what I mean. Let's say I want to store a value name var name equals, let me just use any name. Let's say I use single quotes and I'll say there's a boy. You see that this other quote has the quote I put in between theirs has like made that statement, it has ended the first single quote, so whatever comes after will throw you an error. But in the case where you use your double quotes, you can easily write sentences like that because your double quotes will accommodate you using the apostrophe, which your single quotes will not accommodate. Now moving on to the next class, the next topic for today, we have operators. Now what are operators? Operators are basically things that are used to perform some basic functions in JavaScript. We have the arithmetic operators, we have the assignment operators, we have the logical operators, and so on and so forth. Now Using it says here that it says here that let's first talk about the assignment operators. Now, there's an assignment operator that we've been using is just used to assign a value to a variable. Now, the equal to here is the assignment operator. Why? We are assigning 2 to y. So this equal to is also termed an assignment operator, which is the same thing we have here. We are assigning 10 to x. We are assigning 10 to x. So the assignment operator there is the equal to. We also have the addition operator, which is the plus. That is very basic. The multiplication operator. Multiplication in JavaScript is your asterisk, which is located at the number 8 button of your keyboard when you press your shift key. Then we also have, this is basically a sum of the arithmetic operators. Now, I don't know, maybe let's use them one after the other. Now, let me comment this out. And comment, if you want to comment JavaScript, use the double slash. But if you are using Visual Studio Code, the shortcut to comment is your control and your forward slash. Now, let's work with the values we have here. Let me change them. Let's use like 3 and 2. Now, the arithmetic operators, we have the addition operators. So if I log to my console z now, I'm going to have, if I log to my console z, I'm going to have x plus y, which will give me what? 5, which is what I have here, 5. Now, the other operator is your subtraction. Let's say I comment this out, then I use my subtraction. If I subtract and I check it, 3 minus 2 is what? 1. So the value that is going to return to me is 1. Then I also have the multiplication operator, like I said earlier, which is our asterisk, number 8 on your keyboard using the shift key. 3 times 2 is going to give us 6, which is what we have here. Then we have the division operator. We have the divisor operator, which is your division. So if I change this to division, which is slash, 3 divided by 2 is going to give me 1.5, which is what we have here. Now we have the double asterisk, also known as exponentiation, which is also the same as saying raised to the power. If I use my double asterisk here now, it's the same thing as saying x raised to the power of y. So x is 3, double asterisk is exponentiation, like I said earlier, which is raised to the power. So x raised to the power of y, that's 3 raised to the power of 2, which is going to give us 9. So if you check your console here, you are going to get 9 as your value. We also have the modulus operator. Now, what the modulus operator does in this case is once you divide a number, it gives you the remainder. So now, if I say it gives you the remainder of whatever you divide, and the modulus operator is also the percentage sign in JavaScript. So if you have x divided by y, 3 divided by 2 is what? 1, but you have a remainder of 1. So the remainder is going to give you is the answer is going to give you is 1 because your modulus operator returns your remainder. So you should have 1 here. Uncut. Okay. Identify coming. It said unexpected identifier. Okay, sorry, I needed to refresh because I'm on live server. It throws errors like that sometimes, so you just have to refresh the page. So it gives you a one. So let's assume I have 4 here. If I have 4 here and I run this, 4 divided by 2 is what? 2. Remainder 0. So you are going to get 0 as your remainder. The modulus operator, it might not sound useful to you now, but it might sound useful to you later when, okay, you're writing a code where you want to check for even numbers. And you know that all even numbers are divisible by 2 and they give a remainder of 0. While odd numbers give a remainder of 1 when divided by 2. So you can use modulus operator to check for such conditions because if the operator returns 0, that means it is divisible by 2 with a remainder of 0, that means it's an even number. You get to understand this as we go further in the course, and I hope I am not too fast. If I am, I beg I apologize. Then we have the increment and the decrement operator. Now, once you use once you use the double plus sign for a value, what is going to return here is it will add 1 to that value. Now my x, sorry, now my x is 4. The increment sign is actually is meant to x. Okay, I'm coming. I'm so sorry about that. Unexpected number. Increment is meant to work. Double plus. It's giving me 4 back. Okay, let me try something. Let me use 5. That's odd. That is odd. Okay, sorry, I was getting the syntax all wrong. You put it before your value, so it increments the value by one, not after. I'm so sorry about that. So you put it before your value. So x is what, 5 in this case. So you want to increment it by one, you have to add one to it. So you just put it before your x. If you decrement it using the double minus sign, your value is going to give you 4. X will be 4. So that's what the increment and decrement does. And that is all about arithmetic operators. And now we have the assignment operators. I've already told you about assignment operators earlier, which is the equal to. Use it to assign a value to another value. Now let's say we say x is 5 now. We say x is 5. That means we have assigned 5 to x. So that x, that equal to is assigning a value to your variable. Now we also have the plus equal to. Now what the plus equal to does is, if you say x plus equal to, this is the same thing as saying x is equal to x plus 2. It will return 4. Let me comment this out first. If I check my console, I should get 4. Sorry, sorry, didn't put my unexpected token. X plus equal to, sorry, I'm logging x, not z. Z is undefined as I had cleared it out earlier. So checking this now, I have 7. Now what this did is it incremented my value by 2. So if you have x plus equal to, it's the same thing as x equals x plus 2. Same thing goes for your subtraction. Let me copy this if I comment it out. Same thing goes for your subtraction. If I say x minus equals 2, the same thing as saying x equals x minus 2, which is going to return 0. If I comment it out, it's going to return, sorry, what is my x is 5, so 5 minus 2 is going to give me 3. So that is what the plot. Same thing for multiplication, same thing for division. If I say x times equal to, the same thing as saying x is equal to x times 2, which is 5 times 2, that will give you 10. Same thing for your division. Same thing for your division. So the next thing to look at is your, okay, same thing for your division. Yeah, same thing for your modulus. If you say x modulo y, if you say x modulo let's say modulo equals 2, what that does is it does x is equal to x modulo 2. Let me type it out. If I say x modulo equals 2, it's the same thing as saying x equals x modulo 2. So what is x modulo 2? X modulo 2 is 5 divided by 2. Your remainder is your value. So 5 divided by 2 is what? 2 remainder 1. So this should return 1. This should return 1, like I said. So moving on, the exponentiation is also the same thing. The same thing as saying x equals x raised to the power of your value. Now moving on to the JavaScript, there are also there's a string operator, which is what we have here. This is a string operator. It just adds an empty space in between your string of text. Now let's copy this and let me explain it to you in Visual Studio Code. Now what this does is you have a text 1 which is done, you have a text 2 which is do, John do. Your text 3 is a combination of the assignment and the string operator. Your assignment operator is assigning these values right here, these values here, to your text 3, which is what we are going to log to the console. Text 3. So what this does is it gets your text 1, which is your first string, John. Then the string operator you pass in an empty string, so it adds an empty string in between John and do. So you have John, then a space, then do. If that space wasn't there, for example, this space wasn't here, if this space wasn't here, it was going to print John Doe without any, it is going to display John Doe without any space in between. But using the string operator in between, there's going to be a space between John and Doe. That is what the string operator does. I've explained what this does. if you have this, I'll explain what it does earlier. Now, if you add a string to a number, adding two numbers will return the sum, but adding a number to a string is going to return a string. If you add two numbers together, let me comment all of this out. So if you add two numbers together, let's say var x equals 5 plus 5. If I print out x, it's going to give me what? It's going to give me 10, right? 5 plus 5, which is 10. And let me comment this out also. Now, I want us to note something. You see that I assigned a value here at the beginning for x, and now I'm changing the value for x. What JavaScript does is JavaScript interprets your code line by line. So it is the very last variable you declare that it's the very last variable you declare that is going to show. So I declared, let's assume I declared 2 here, but in the last place I've declared another value for x. So it is the last one I declare that is going to be assigned to x. So I just wanted to point that out. But let me comment this so as not to confuse us. So we have 5 plus 5. This is going to bring out 10 for us. Now, if you add a string to a number, JavaScript is going to treat it as a string, and this is going to print 55 for you. It's not possible, it's not going to throw you an error, it's just going to print 55 because it assumes you are adding a string value to an integer value. So it treats everything as a string. Say, as shown here, if you have hello plus 5, it's going to print hello 5 for you because it's going to treat the integer as a string value. So a tip to note is when you are adding a string to an integer in JavaScript, it's going to treat it as a string value. So let's move on. Now we have the comparison operators. Now we have the equal to operator. The comparison operator, sorry. Let me say that. We have the comparison operators. Now what the comparison operator does is it compares two values. Now let me remove the comments from these two. It compares two values. Now you have the double equal to. If I say let me assign a value to it, z. Okay, no, there's no need to assign a value. Let's just use the log directly. So let's assume I come here, my comparison operators. Let me clear this. Now we have two values for x and y, which is 5 and 2. So if I come here and say x equals y, is 5 equal to 2? The answer is no. The answer is no. But the double equal to is going to return a true to you. Do you know why? It's going to return a true because the double equal to just checks. It just checks like the data types. It checks the two data types. We can see that. Sorry, I made a mistake. I used 2, that's why. This is meant to return false. It's going to return false to you because the double equal to, like I was saying earlier, it checks is 5 actually equal to 2, which is not the case. But if you have something like is 5 equal to, let's make this a string 5, what is it going to return to you? It is going to return true, and that is not the case here. Why? Because 1 is a string and 1 is an integer. So what the double equal to does is it just checks the values. It will just check the values that, okay, is this value the same thing as this value? Then it will give you an output of either true or false. Now this is, in most cases while coding, I use the triple equals to sign because the triple equals to, let me show you the difference. I'll show you the difference right now. What the triple equal to does is it doesn't just check the values if they are equal, it checks the data types. So this is an integer. Let me specify it here. This is an integer and this is a string. Now this is an integer and this is a string. So it does not, for this double equal to, it checks only the values. 5 is equal to 5. That's what it will check. But the triple equal to will check, okay, 5 is equal to 5, okay. But are the types the same? Is integer the same thing as a string? And that is false. So this is going to return a false to you. Now we also have the not equal to. The not equal to will just tell you something not equal to something. if you have, is it not equal to, is 5 not equal to 5? This should return true to you. Sorry, false. What am I saying? It should return false to you, because 5 is not equal to 5. The integer is not equal to the string, so it is going to return false to you. Now, moving on, we also have the greater than or the less than. Now, that is self-explanatory. If I have x greater than y, is x greater than y? Is 5 greater than, is 5 greater than, okay, no, let me use this. Let me use an integer value. Is 5 greater than 6? This is true, so it is going to return true to you. 5 is not greater than 6, it's false. I'm so sorry. So it's going to return false to you. And then if I change this value to a 7, this should return true, because 7 is greater than 6. Now moving on, we have a greater than or equal to and less than or equal to. Now the difference between these two is that the difference between less than and greater than, and less than and equal to and greater than and equal to, is that less than just checks if the value is less than. But when you have less than or equal to, it checks, okay, is this value less than? If it is not, is it equal to? So as long as one of those conditions are true, it is going to return a value for you. So now let me say, let me this is getting far up, so let me reassign them down here, because let me reassign them down here. So now you say, is x greater than or equal to y? Is x greater than or equal to y? Let me put 7 here. You know they are the same now. So is x greater than y? You know, if you have this in just greater than, your value is going to be false, because 7 is not greater than 7. But with your equal to, it's going to check now. Okay, is 7 greater than 7? That is false. Okay, yes, that's false. It's now going to check. Is it equal to, is 7 equal to 7? And that is true. So as long as one of the conditions are met, it is going to return true, which is why you have true here. Same thing for your less than and equal to and your ternary operators. I'll explain ternary operators a bit later, because we'll be using it. It works as a like a conditional, but you will understand later as we move on in the course. Then we have logical operators. We have the AND operator. We have the OR operator and the NOT operator. What this does is, what the three of them do is, your AND operator checks between two conditions. Is this true and is this true? The two different conditions. If both of them are true, it is going to return a true value. If one of the conditions are false, as far as the both of them are not true, it is going to return a false value. Then our OR operator checks if at least one condition is true. So if one condition is true and one condition is false, our OR operator is going to return true, because at least one is true. Now I'll explain that using Visual Studio. We have x is equals to 7. Let me say this is 6. So now let's have it here that x is greater than y and y is less than 6. Sorry, you don't use the and like this, so you use the double ampersand, which is on number 7 of your keyboard. So now x is greater than y. That is true. 7 is greater than 6. Also, y is less than 7, because 6, y is less than x, because 6 is less than 7. So you are going to get this, since the first value is true, the second is true, you are going to get true as your answer. Now if you have it this way, let's say greater than, the first option is true because 7 is greater than 6, but y is not greater than x, 6 is not greater than 7. So since even one condition is false, it nullifies the entire thing and returns false for you. As far as one of them is false, it returns false, which is what we have here, false. Now checking for the or using the or operators, sorry, using the or operator, let me copy this and then comment it out. Using the or operator, the or checks for at least if one condition is true, at least if one condition is true, your or returns true. So you can have true or false. As far as one of them is true, it will return true. It's like me sending you to the market to get me, okay, I said get me Chivita and get me let me say Gala. And I'll say get me Chivita, or gala. If you get to the market and you ask for chivita, they don't have chivita, then your next option will be gala. So you are going to get me that gala. So true or false, as far as one of the conditions are true, the statement is going to return true. So if you want to use the or operator, you press your shift and you look at your keyboard where you have the backward slash, then you press the button and you have these two straight lines. This is the or operator in JavaScript. So now x is greater than y, this is true. Y is greater than x, this is false. But since at least one of them is true, it is going to return true. Fine. So that's how logical. Then the not operator is as basic as it is there. Is x greater than y, not y coming? Sorry. The logical not. Sorry. Is x, sorry, I'm coming. Is x not y? Okay, this is throwing an error. This is throwing an error. It shouldn't throw an error actually. Then I'll get back to that later because I want to move on. Now we have the arithmetic operators. I've explained this. I've explained the assignment operators. And now moving on to data types. Now there are different data types in Python. Like I said earlier, we have the number, we have the string, we have the object. In the new ES6, we have something introduced into it called symbol. We have numbers, we have string, we have objects, we have symbol, we have undefined, we have null. So all these are data types in JavaScript. So your number are your should I say not integers? Yes, your numbers are basically whole numbers. 1, 2, 3 to infinity. They are basically whole numbers. And your string are your letters, your words, enclosed in a quote. And this is an example of an object. An object consists of two values, which is your object and your value. The object here is first name. The value is John. The object there is last name. Value is Bo. So now the concept of data types. In programming, data types is an important concept. To be able to operate on variables, it is important to know something about the type. Without data types, a computer cannot safely solve this. Does it make any sense to add Volvo to 16? Will it produce a result? JavaScript will treat the above as, I told you earlier, when you're trying to add an integer to a string, you get a string value. So that's how that works. So moving on. This is going to perform this operation. It's going to add 16 to 4 to give you 20. Then it's going to add 20 to Volvo. So it will be 20 Volvo because it's going to take that 20 as a string, like I said earlier. So now types are dynamic. This is now to check a type, there's an operator called the type of. There's an operator called the type of. Now let's say, now I said in variables you can either declare them first or you can declare and assign the value to it and initialize. So now if I say var x, I have declared this variable but I have not assigned the value to it. So this, if you check the type of x now, I have to log into the console.log type of x. This is going to return undefined for me because the value is sorry, let me comment this out. Is there anywhere I assign? Okay, up here. Okay. Now this is going to return undefined for me because I have not assigned a value to it. So any variable you just declare without assigning a value to is regarded as undefined. Now we also have numbers, like I said, are whole numbers. If you have x equals, now I've declared this variable, I can come down here and say x equals 5. So if you check the type of x, it will be a number. Then we have strings, like I said earlier. If I say x is equal to bouquet, so my type of x will be what? String, because bouquet is a bunch of things that are enclosed in a string. So the type of x will be string. Now, using, okay, I've taught you a string is a series of characters like John. The strings are written with quotes. You can use single or double quotes, like I said earlier. The advantages of using double quotes over single quotes, I said them earlier. Now, this is using double. This is using double quotes. Now, JavaScript numbers. Numbers can be written with or without decimals. You can have 2.00, 3.0, or you can have just plain 3. It doesn't really matter. Extra large or extra small numbers can be written with exponential notation. Yeah, you can use your exponentiation, your e raised to the power 5. If I have x now, I say x is equal to 2e 2e 2e6. So this, if I log, sorry, let me just show you that. If I log x to the contour, I'm going to get, I think, 2 million. Yeah, I'm going to get 2 million. And the type of x is still a number. It's still a number because you have your, it's just the exponentiation. The exponentiation, for those that don't know, is the same thing as times 10 raised to the power of. So you have 2 exponentials 6. It's the same thing as 2 times 10 raised to the power of 6, which is 2 million. So moving on, we have our booleans, which are, they are also booleans are also a data type in JavaScript. Booleans are, they are either true or false, which I showed you when we were using the assignment operators. Sorry, the comparison operators. If one is true or one is false, it performs a particular set of things. So now your boolean returns either true or false. Now we have x is 5, y is 5. You know, I told you the double equal to does what? If you recall, I said it just checks the values, it doesn't check the type. But in this case, the values are the same. 5 and 5 are the same, so it is going to return true. Now for y and z, they are not the same. The values are not the same, even though their types are the same. So as the values are not the same, since it is double equal time, the double equal to, it is going to return false. Yeah, so we have the arrays, which are listed some in some programming languages. Now, an array is just a list of items. Let's say, should we use the example? Let's use the example. Let's say car, but let's come up with our own brand names. Let me see Toyota, um, Mercedes, a Bugatti. I don't know if I got. Yeah, I think I got the spelling like that. Now, if I check the type of car, what do you think is going to show me? Type of car is, it is an array of elements, and that is going to give me an object. Surprisingly, it gave me an object because it won't give you, there is no data. There's, how do I put this? How do I put this in a way to explain? And arrays are just written like square brackets. The name of the array is car. So that is, let me not confuse you with what that is. That is an array. It is, I think I read somewhere that is like, okay, no, it's not that. It's just an array. Just know that it's an array. But you return an object to us for some reason. But just know that anything enclosed in a square bracket, a list of items enclosed in a square bracket, is also known as an array. An array indexes are they are zero based. How? If I want to get the value of if I want to get Mercedes from this array, I can easily just see console.log car. Then I give it an index position. Toyota is at index position 0, Mercedes is at index position 1, that is at index position 2. So if I say car 0, what this is going to give me is what is at index position 0, which is Toyota, which is what we have here, Toyota. If I say index position 1, it's going to give me Mercedes because Mercedes is what we have at index position 1. And if I say 2, it's going to give me Bugatti because Bugatti is at index position 2. Sorry, I changed something. Yeah. So now we have that's those are JavaScript arrays. They are enclosed in a square bracket. Now we also have JavaScript objects. You need to know the differences between these things. A string is enclosed in a quote. An array is enclosed in square brackets. An object is enclosed in what we call curly braces, which is on the same key as your square brackets, but you have to use your shift key to activate it. Now let's say let me still use the car. Let me see what car is equal to. Now let's just say a brand here and the name of the car they can make. Let's say Toyota. Now the name of the car should be, let me use the Corolla. Now let me say let me make this all small letters. So now avoid any issue when I'm coding it. Let's say Mercedes G Wagon. Let me see which other car is out there. Let me see Ford Explorer. Now if I check the type of car, it is going to return an object to me. Why? Because it is an object. I told you JavaScript objects are enclosed in curly. So the object car in our case, it has three properties, which is Toyota, Mercedes, and Ford. And then they have three values, which is Corolla, G-Wagon, and Explorer. Using the type of operator for this is going to give an object, because the type that is enclosed in a curly bracket is an object. I've told you what undefined is when you declare a variable without assigning it a value. And the point of assigning it a value is called initialization. Now, car is the value is undefined. Yeah, if you store on a variable, if you say car is equal to undefined, if you check the type of car, it is going to return undefined. Then we have empty values. Empty values in JavaScript, they have nothing to do with undefined. An empty string is a legal value and a type in JavaScript. So an empty value is a type. It's just your double quotes with nothing in them, not even a space. So that's an empty string, because a space is actually a value in JavaScript. So null means nothing. It is supposed to be something that does not exist. Unfortunately, the data, yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I read somewhere that it is a bug. It is actually meant to return the data type as null, but the way JavaScript was created, it is going to return it as an object. So null is empty, nothing at all. So you can store null into a variable. Yeah, you can store null into a variable. Now, I think that is self-explanatory. Or if you still want me to explain that, I can say var. Let me use nothing as the name of the variable. Var nothing is equal to none. If I check the type of this, it is going to give me type of nothing. It is going to give me an object, because like I said earlier, that I read somewhere, null returns objects. If you check the type in JavaScript, it came with how they created JavaScript. It's actually meant to return null, but how JavaScript was created, there's a bug or something, so it returns object instead of null. So the differences between undefined and null are equal in value, but they are just different in type. I told you the double equal to is used to check the value. So if you check null double equal to undefined, they are equal in value. You just need to know that they are equal in value, but in type, their types are totally different. They are different data types in JavaScript. Now, a primitive data value is a single data value with no additional properties or methods. The type of operator can return one of these primitive types. We have string, number, boolean, and undefined. Now, the type of John, we have explained all of this. The type of John is what is string, because it is enclosed in double or single quote, so it is a string. The type of 3.14, I told you a number can be written with both decimal or not decimal, so it is the type of number. Then true or false is going to give you a boolean. Then x is undefined. Type of x is undefined. Then we have complex data types, and the complex data type, the type of operator can return one of two complex types: function for objects. The type of operator returns an object for objects, arrays, and none. Like I said earlier, arrays was not giving us array because in JavaScript it was programmed to give us an object. So for objects, arrays, and none, our type of operator gives us an object. Then it does not return an object for function, but we haven't gotten to functions yet. So I'm going to that is going to be for the next class. Now these are just exercises to work with. Then now I just want us to touch one more thing before we round this class up, which is the math, the math operators. Now your math operators, they are basically as they sound. They just allow you to perform some certain things in mathematics. You have your pi as a you have your, sorry, did I just say operator? The math object, not operator. The math object allows you to perform mathematical tasks. So how do you write your math? Your math is your M with capital letters. So let me clear this out. So console.log math.py. This is going to return the value of pi to me, which is 3.1415 long, a non-recurring decimal. So what math.py does is, yes, it returns the value of pi. There are other functions, there are other things. So instead of let's say you have a formula, you're writing a code that works with a formula that uses pi. Instead of typing out pi manually as 3.142, because you might not even know the actual value without approximating. It is the approximated version that is 3.142. You might not know the actual value, and you might need to work with like the bare values like that, then approximate at the end of the formula. So in this case, you can use your math.py because it will break pi down to a lot of decimals, and you can use that in your formula. Then math.round as it sounds is it rounds off a value. It just rounds it like as normal math. If you have 4.7 and you use round, since 7 is greater than 5, it will round it up to 1 and add that 1 to your 4. I should not be teaching you math here, but it's basically a mathematical function. It rounds it up or down. So you have 4.4. 4 is not up to 5, so it's going to round 4 up, down to 0. So it will be 4. So you add that 0 to your 4, to this 4 here, and that will return 4 for you. Return 4 to you. Now power. Okay, now power. Um, no, let me do some things here so that you understand. Let's console.log math.round. If I do 3.9, this is going to return 4. Why? Because 9, you just round it up. Since 9 is greater than 4, it rounds it up and adds it to your 3, so it's going to return 4. So if you check our console, we are going to get 4. Then math.pow. Now what math.pow does is this terminator that I keep putting at the end of my code, this thing here, it is not compulsory in your JavaScript code. Your code will run with or without the terminator, but like it is just professional to always terminate your code. It is just the professional way of writing codes. Now math.pow. What math.pow accepts two values. It's the same thing as your double asterisk raised to the power. If I say 2, 4, what this does is it will do what this does is math.power does is the first value raised to the power of the second value. So this is going to be 2 raised to the power of 4. So 2 raised to the power of 4 is what? 16. So this is going to return 16 to me. Yeah, this is 16. And it's still returning 4 because I haven't commented this out. So it's returning 16 to me. Now which other? We have the square roots, which is this math.sqrt. Then anytime any value you put in it, it just gets you the square. This is 36, so my answer is going to be 6 because it will give you the square root of the value. Don't forget what these values accept. Power accepts two values, which is the first value, then what you want to raise it to the power of. So this 2, 4 here, this 2, 4 here, this is 2 raised to the power of 4. If it's 2, 5, this is 2 raised to the power of 5. If it's 3, 1, it is 3 raised to the power of 1. And your square root just finds the square root of any value you put in it. Now we have the math.absolute. You know what our absolute value is in math. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. Your absolute value is just the non-negative of that value. So if you have a value in that is negative, it is going to return the absolute value, which is the positive of that value. So negative 3.9 is going to give me positive 3.9. That's just how absolute value works. Now we have math.ceil and math.floor. The difference between this and round is that round does it like mathematically. If it is greater, if the one after the decimal point is greater than 4, it rounds it up. If it is less than 4, it rounds it down. But what ceil does is greater or not, less or not, as long as you use ceil, it is going to round it up. But floor, take it this way, floor is what? Floor is down. I use this to remember, floor is like on the ground, you step on the floor. So floor rounds your decimal down to the nearest integer, but ceil is like, let's say, ceiling, so it rounds it up to the nearest value, even if the number after the decimal point is not greater than 4. So if you have math.ceil, if you have math.ceil 3.9, now what this does is it's going to round it up. I told you ceil rounds it was up, so your answer is going to be 4. And then if I have math.floor, this is going to round it down, so your answer is going to be 3. It is going to ignore the fact that your 3.9, okay, sorry, yeah, 3. It's going to ignore the fact that your 9 is greater than 4, so it will round it up to 4. Since you used floor, it is going to round it down to the nearest decimal down, so it's going to be 3 point, it's going to be 3 instead of 4. So that's how ceil and floor works. And then we also have math.sin, which just gives you the sign by it returns the sign of any angle given in radians. And you can just play around with some of these things. Math.sin, math.cos, math.min gives you the minimum value in list of items. You separate these items by a comma. Then math.max gives you the maximum value between these items. Then math.random gives you a random number. It gives you a random set of numbers. Let me show you how that works. What math.random does is it gives you a random set of numbers that are greater than 0, but from 0 to 1. It just gives you random numbers from 0 to 1. Let me show you how that works. Math.random. It gives you any number from 0, most times decimal numbers. You see this 0.94. If I refresh the page, it's going to give me another number. If I refresh it, it's giving me another number. That's how math.random works. It just gives you a random number. If you want a number from one value to another value, if you say you want a number from 0 to 9, you have to multiply these values, this non-recurring decimal values is giving you by 10 to get 0 to 9. If you want 0 to 10, you have to multiply it by 11. If you want 0 to 11, you have to multiply it by 12. That's just how it works. So if I multiply this by 10 now, it's going to give me a random number from 0 to 9. So if I run this, what do I have? I have 5.3. Okay, there's something. Let me see if I can get that here. Um, um, ah, uh, okay, it should be at the beginning. Math dot, let me say, round. So it will round whatever value it gives you. So it will stop giving you the recurring decimals that is giving. Exactly. So this will give you any number from 0 to 9, and it will, sorry about that. It is going to round them to the nearest, it is going to round them up to the nearest decimal. So I just used two of those mathematical functions together. You can play around with them. So what this does at first is math.random gives you a random number from 0 to 1. So 0 point something something something, 0 point something something something, 0 point something something something. Now, to get 0 to 9, you have to multiply those decimal numbers by 10. So it is going to give you from 0 point something to 9 point something. So the values is now going to give you, they are still going to be recurring, decimal numbers, because it is random, it gives you decimal numbers. So you now have to round those values either up or down, which is why I called the math.round function. So what this will do now is give you values from 0 to 9. If I multiply by 11, it's going to give me values from 0 to 10. Let me see if I can get. I don't know if you saw the 10 that he gave. I don't know if you saw the 10 that he gave. I think most, yeah, he just gives 10 now. I passed it. So it will give you any number from 0 to 10. So that's how it works. That's how random function works. So that will be the end of today's class, and I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.